Hi guys, this video is going to be a tutorial on the homophonic cipher for Codebusters. So before we begin, I'm just going to go over the basic format of how this cipher works and everything. So typically, as a part of the Codebusters event, you're only going to be doing the cryptanalysis of the cipher. So I have another cipher problem later that we're gonna do. But first, I'm gonna start out with like the basic cipher, which is super easy, just so that you guys understand it first before doing the cryptanalysis. And both of them are like super simple, so it shouldn't be too bad. So first, the way the cipher works is there's four different alphabets. So you look at the keyword first, and the keyword is always going to be four letters. So basically, what this means is the first alphabet starts with the letter O. So, because that's the first letter of the keyword. And the second alphabet starts with the letter D, and then E, and then S. So essentially, in the normal alphabet, it all starts with A, right? In this case, we're starting at O. And once we get to Z, we wrap around and we start at A again and go on till we get to P. And that's going to be the same deal with D, E, and S. Like all the letters, you just like once you get to Z, you just wrap around and you start at the beginning of the alphabet until you get to that same letter eventually. So the way this works is there's four sets of alphabets, but there's also a numbering system for each of those alphabets. And it goes from 1 to 100 for all four alphabets combined. So let me just show you what that would look like. So starting out, I would set this up as a table so that it's easy for you to sort of understand what's going on. So first, I would write out all of the letters in the alphabet first, and then we're gonna number each of those letters. So I'm just gonna do this, and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so I just went ahead and wrote all of the letters in the alphabet. So now we're going to be numbering this alphabet. So the first alphabet starts with the letter O. So O is going to be given the number 1. And then P is going to be given the number 2. And this keeps going until you get back to N over here, which is going to be letter 25. So the only way this is going to work is if you combine I and J. So in this case, similar to like other ciphers, I and J are going to fall under the same number. So M would be 24, L would be 23, K 22, and IJ would be 21. So if you see a 21 in the cipher, that means it's probably going to be an I or J. So that's in the specific case. So you have to pick between one of these two. So I'm just going to label the rest of these letters in order, and then I'll come back once I finish that. Feel free to pause and then do these steps and then unpause once you're finished with them. Okay, so I just finished numbering the first alphabet, starting at O. So once again, just as a reminder, the first letter of the keyword is going to be where the first alphabet starts. So this is going to be our first alphabet, this first row here. So that means anytime I see a 16 in the ciphertext, that means it's a D, basically. Or if I see a 20, that's an H. So whenever I see a 20, that's always going to be an H, regardless of, because each number has a letter that it goes to, but each letter has multiple different numbers, as you're going to see, because there's four different alphabets, right? So each letter can go to four different numbers, but each number only goes to one letter. So like all the 85s, for example, are going to be the same exact letter. So you can go through and fill in the ciphertext as you create this table here. So now we're going to continue labeling the rest of our alphabets. So the next set is going to start at D. And for this alphabet, since we ended just at 25, right? We're going to start the next alphabet at number 26. So D is going to be the first letter of our next alphabet, which starts at 26. So you can continue labeling the rest of the row, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you like what the point of doing all this is. So after you label 26, right, you're going to start your third row, which is going to start at number 51. So the first alphabet starts at number 1, Second alphabet starts at number 26. Third starts at 51. And then the last one starts at number 76. And then this will go on to 100. So you'll have 100 numbers written, which each go to a single letter. So you should probably pause this video. I'm going to label the rest of these three rows starting at letter D, and then the third alphabet starting at letter E, which is going to be 51, and then the last alphabet starting at letter S, which is going to be 76. So I'm going to label all of these and pause the video and do all this first, and then we can come back and finish the ciphertext. Okay, so I just finished labeling all four alphabets, and as you can see, I have number 1 to 100 over here. So I have all four alphabets done, and now I can begin to decode this ciphertext. So as a reminder, once again, in this like Science Olympiad Codebusters event, you're not gonna see a question that looks like this. It's always gonna be cryptanalysis, where it's gonna say, like the letters in these positions decode to this word or something like that. It's never gonna give you the keyword for the homophonic cipher in Codebusters. It's always gonna make you do like a cryptanalysis question. So now we can begin to decipher this. So the first number here is 21, which goes to I or J. This is probably going to be like is or it, so it's going to be an I. 41 goes to T. 65 goes to T as well. So notice again how multiple numbers can go to the same letter. It just depends on which alphabet you're looking at. And you can just continue filling this in. I also want to illustrate another point. So writing out the entire table might seem like a lot of work to do, like during the event. I only did this so that it's easier to show you guys like how the cipher actually works. During the test, you can like think about the spaces between each letter. Like for example, if you know A is 72, right, for whatever reason, and you see 74 somewhere else in the cipher, you can just think two letters ahead, which is C, and then you can write it down. You don't have to write the full table for this. So it's just easier to visually see it. But if you feel like you can, you got the hang of it and you can do it quickly, it's so much easier to just think about the shifts in the letters and like what letter the shift would lead to essentially. So filling out the ciphertext isn't too much of a problem here because you have the key essentially and you just like find the number and fill it into the ciphertext. So I'm just gonna fill out the full thing and then come back when I'm done, and feel free to pause the video. Okay, so the encrypted phrase was, "It takes both sunshine and rain to make a rainbow." Okay, so now we're going to move on to the second one, which is a real cryptanalysis, something that you'll probably more likely see in the Codebusters test. So notice here how they don't give you the keyword. Instead, they say that it's 4 letters long and that the 10th through 18th cipher units, these numbers, decode to movements. So that means that this set of numbers here decode to movements. So I'm just going to write that in real quick. And now, since we don't have the keyword, we're going to have to approach this question a little differently. So normally we would use the 4 letters in the keyword to create our alphabet and determine where each alphabet starts. But instead we have different positions within those alphabets here given by these letters. So these letters aren't necessarily where the alphabets start, they're just in the middle of them. So we can use these like letters and their numbers to sort of like create the rest of the alphabet sort of in reverse. So we're going to use these letters to assemble the rest of our alphabet. So the first step in doing so, again, I'm going to do it like the super easy way, is to write out all of the letters in the table and then label the four alphabets and different letters that we know from this hint that they give us. So I'm going to first label the alphabet and then I'll come back. Okay, so I just labeled the full alphabet, and now we're going to be using the hint that they give us to um, note down the positions of some of the letters within the alphabet. So we know that M is 95 here, and as a reminder, each alphabet starts at these letters, these numbers, sorry. 1, 26, 51, 76. So if you ever forget, you can start at 1 and then add 25 to each one of these, and then you'll know um, which alphabet it is. So for the first one, M is 95. So that means this is going to be a part of the fourth alphabet, which is from 76 to 100. So I'm going to leave some room for the other three alphabets, and I'm going to write 95 for M. And then O is 45. So that's going to be in the second alphabet. So I'm going to write it right here. And then V is going to be 27, which is part of the second alphabet as well. E is going to be 36, part of the second alphabet. And then we have 95 is M, and then 88 is going to be E, and that's part of the fourth alphabet. N is 44, which makes sense because we know O is 45, so one position before that is going to be N. T is going to be 11, and then S is going to be 62, which is part of the third alphabet. So notice how here they gave us a letter, at least one letter from each of the four alphabets. So for example, if they didn't give us S, then we wouldn't know where this third alphabet started. Instead, if that was the case, we would have to write the first, second, and fourth alphabets and determine where the keyword is. So what I mean, like what the keyword is. So what I mean by that is, for example, here, S is going to be 10 or 9, Q8, etc., etc. And then IJ is going to be 1 here. So what that means is in the keyword that's 4 letters long, I or J is going to be the first word. So it could be either of these. And then you do the same thing for the second and fourth alphabet, how many ever you know. So once you get like these letters here, you can sort of like guess where the third one would be in that case. And you can use like the ciphertext like as a tool to do that. Like let's say 58, which is part of the third alphabet, right? Is an S, for example, just as an example, you know that 58 goes to S, and you can fill in the rest of the alphabet from there. So all you need is one letter from each alphabet, and you can do the entire cipher super quickly. So now I'm going to just fill in the rest of the table because we know each of the, at least one letter from each of the alphabets. So I'm just going to fill in the rest, and feel free to do the same and pause the video. Okay, so I just filled in the rest of the 4 alphabets, and now based off of these 4 alphabets, we can determine what our keyword is. And this isn't required, but it's just a good way to like check to make sure that you labeled everything correctly. Because for example, if one number is wrong and everything is shifted for whatever reason, then the entire thing is going to be wrong. So we can just see what our keyword is, so we can make sure that we have everything correct here. So 1 is going to be I or J, and that's going to be the first letter of our keyword. And then now we have to look for 26, which is going to be the second letter of your keyword, which is U. So that's going to be the second letter. And then 51 would be the third, and that's G. And then the last letter is going to be S, which is 76. And then, yeah, so our keyword here is jugs. So we can like make sure that everything is correct, and in this case it is. So now we can just move on to decoding the rest of the ciphertext. So this part isn't too bad. It's just like finding the number. And then that's basically it for the cryptanalysis. So I'm just going to fill in the rest of these letters, and then I'll come back once I'm done. And pause the video to do the same as well. Okay, so I just finished filling the rest of the ciphertext, and the final phrase was political movements always belong to the young. So, and that's the cryptanalysis problem, which is super easy because essentially they give you the keyword except it's different letters, and you just have to reverse engineer it so that you can figure out the rest of the alphabet, which isn't too bad at all. So, during this entire video, I've been using this table method, and I mentioned this before. It's pretty tedious to do this, but it helps to just show like what's going on with the cipher itself. But I encourage you guys to sort of like think about this more mentally instead of writing the entire thing down, because writing 100 numbers and all the like the entire alphabet is kind of tedious, especially during a test. So like just as an example here, um, L is 55. So like if you want to figure out what 58 is, right, for whatever reason, you can just go 3 letters forward, and that's going to be O. So you can write O here. And like that, you can do that, complete the rest of the ciphertext just using shifts and things like that. So, and as a reminder, just be safe when um, you're doing this on the border of any of the alphabet. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have 25, right? And this goes to letter S, for example, just as an example. And you have 27 in the ciphertext. You can't say 27 is U because 26 is the start of the new alphabet. So this like isn't relevant at all because you can't jump across these borders essentially. You can't go to these alphabets because each one of them starts at a completely different letter. So that was it on the tutorial for the homophonic cipher, and I hope this helps you guys for the upcoming Science Olympiad season.